Hey guys, I'm Kevorkov from BeTheClaw.com, and this video is, I have to apologize in advance that I'm going to be talking a little too much. But I think you might find it interesting, sort of educational. Now, I have talked about rigged machines, and I'd like to revisit that. As I'm sure you already know, there are several different kinds of machines. Some older ones that are strictly based on skill, where the claw is not adjustable, or it's adjustable, by the vendor at one point, and then it's always the same. And then, when they come back, they see how much money they made. Then they make some adjustments to increase their profit or whatever. Or if it's not paying out enough, they can adjust that for the next couple of weeks or whatever. And obviously, then there are the rig machines, and there's also several kinds of rig machines. So the older rig machines. And by rigged, I mean the ones that are, microprocessor controlled, where you put in, you can put in a certain payout. Actually, there were older machines that didn't work on percentage; they just basically worked on the number of plays. I know some of the like treasure chest machines, and they had, I think you were able to set it to have a weak claw 9 out of 10 times, and then one strong play, and then it would just repeat the cycle. So if you could figure out what the cycle is, you could easily get around the riggedness of that machine. But then the newer machines with microprocessors, you can put in a percentage, and the machine would basically calculate when it wanted to be, if it made a certain amount of money, then it would give you a weak play, strong play, and the rest of the time it would be weak. And that's how majority of the machines are these days. So one of the fans recently asked me about Elaut e-claw. I started looking around, and she's actually from Australia, and they have these machines that are popping up in arcades. When I looked at the manual, it really blew my mind. I could not believe. Now this machine, it's I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. Now, you know how you sometimes there are machines that have, like, all of the prizes are exactly the same. For example, I was recently at Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and they had a machine that is filled with nothing but chocolate bars, plush chocolate bars, or nothing but My Little Ponies, or stuff like that. The reason they do that is so that they can adjust the machine for that particular prize. They know what the value of each prize is the same. So it's sort of like a vending machine. Basically, you need to make at least, if the prize costs them $1 and they want to make 10, they put in a payout of 10% or whatever, and so basically each prize has exactly the same value, because if they put in a bunch of things, they all have different costs and different sizes, weights. So it's kind of hard to rig a machine that would have a payout the same for all the different prizes that are in there. But so now they can, these new machines, the e-claw from Elaut, it's set up very much like Stacker, where you have cheap prizes that are much easier to win, and expensive prizes that are much harder to win. So, and the way they do that, again, it was just incredible. So when they put in these prizes into the machine, in the setup mode, they play, and when the machine grabs the cheaper prize, the vendor marks that machine so the claw can measure the weight of the prize. And so let's say it has My Little Ponies, little plushies that are worth $10, and it has iPhones that are worth $700. So for My Little Ponies, they'll put in a payout of 50%, and for the iPhones, they'll put in a payout of 20%. obviously that's not the best example. In most cases, you don't see machines with My Little Ponies and iPhones, but um, there's basically two levels. It gives you an option to set up two different payouts depending on the weight of the prize. So if you have smartphones in there that are a specific, kind of heavier than the rest of the stuff, or it could be easily the other way around. The lighter stuff, for example, if they have MP3 players or whatever that are somewhat light, they can have a lower payout ratio, a lower percentage, and they can have other things that are not as valuable. They can be really cheap, but they could be heavier, but the machine would still know when you're trying to win a heavier prize, it'll give you a better payout compared to the iPhones. So the good thing, at least with the Elaut machine, is that they have a minimum of 20% payout. So I know a lot of machines out there have 10 to 15%. So 20 is actually somewhat reasonable. So the minimum of 20 and maximum of 50, that's the range that they allow for that setup. So they can have, for the cheaper things, they can have a payout of 50%, and for the more valuable things, they can have a payout of 20. So if, again, for example, if you have, of course, if you have iPhones, and well, let's see, they can set up the profit, or the maximum value, the money that they can get from a particular prize, can be 950 times the cost of the play. So if each play is $1, they can set the machine to require you to put in $950 before it pays out. Of course, with a required minimum 20%, that means if they're getting 950, the value of the prize has to be at least 20% of that, which would be about, I think it's like around $200. So if they set it up like that, if they want to get 950 before it pays out, the minimum value of the prize has to be $200. So it would have to be a tablet or something like that. So if you ever see Elaut, BeTheClaw, if you see somebody playing for the cheaper stuff and you see that they're winning them a lot more, don't get all excited because that the machine pays out really nicely, because if you try for the iPhone, it's going to be dropping it. These people are in business to make money, so they'll never set it up to have a payout that's identical to the value of the or less than the value of the actual prize. So if the iPhone is worth $700, the machine will be set up to require you to put in at least $700, but in most cases it's going to be $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever it is, depending on how greedy they are. So that's of course, if you had 1,000 people playing before you, you have a pretty decent chance of winning, but it's still one in a 1,000 or whatever chance. So it's like playing lottery. So it really, not to say it's impossible, but chances are kind of slim. And if you see somebody win, then you forget. You just walk away. It's kind of funny that even in the manual it specifically says that you have there are like there are a couple different points that the vendor has to keep in mind. One is that you have to convince the player that the machine can grab the prize, it's physically capable of picking it up. Of course, it's going to keep dropping it, but when the machine picks up the prize, it gives you the illusion that it is capable of winning it. So you have to basically convince the player that the machine can pick up the prize. And another thing is, it says, don't let persistent players leave empty-handed. And that kind of means that if somebody's playing a lot, they should probably win at some point. So again, that iPhones might have been a pretty extreme example. There are plenty of machines out there that do have buy phones, but a lot of them have much less expensive prizes. So you know, and even though this particular machine has a minimum of 20% payout, once that technology starts spreading and there are other manufacturers that are making these machines, I'm willing to bet that they're not gonna have a minimum of 20. They may have a minimum of 10 or no payout at all. So there's definitely going to be some machines that are going to be much less fair than that, if fair is the right term here. But at least in the case of the Elaut E-Claw, minimum of 20%, which is sort of a positive in the sense that a lot of machines out there that have a less payout than that. So 20% is actually pretty good. So for what it's worth, the machine that is capable of weighing the prize and knowing which one it is, that's pretty impressive. And also, if the machine knows that it's holding something, if it falls into the prize chute, but there's an optical prize detector that detects when you win a prize, so that even if the prize isn't detected correctly, like if it falls a certain way, but the claw will know exactly where the prize fell out. If it fell out over the prize hole, it'll know that you won it, and it'll reset the payout. So that's another thing that I was like, okay, this is just a little crazy now, because a lot of times, well, I guess that's sort of a benefit to the player. In this case, if the prize falls out, the machine will give you another chance. But if the prize falls into the prize chute and it's not detected, it'll still know that you won, and you're not going to win anytime soon after that. All right, I apologize for this long ramble, rant, whatever. I just wanted to give you some ideas as far as what is coming up in the world of claw machines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.